You are listening to Trophy Horse with your hosts, Tricky Mick, Alex, I Yield to No One,
Steve,
and Sid.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Trophy Wars. This is episode 586. I'm your host, Tricky Mick, alongside with me, the man, the myth, the legend. It's Alex.
I want to throw out some early shout-outs here on the show. First one to still AEW Real World's Champion CM Punk and still AEW Tag Team Champions FTR, both of whom were victorious at AEW All In London. So,
All right, I'm up on all the results except for the title match. Who won? Did MJF or Adam Cole win?
I am not sure. I saw a picture of Adam Cole holding the title. In the end, I know they won the tag titles. So MJF and Adam Cole are the ROH Tag Team Champions. Hold on. Scanning.
Oh, while we're waiting for you to get that, he is trophyless. It's Matt.
What's up?
I almost called you toothless. I don't know why. Never saw that.
That would have just made a whole weird dynamic and makes me sound different. Without teeth, recording would be weird.
Well, I for some reason, How to Train Your Dragon popped in my head, but I've never seen that movie. I just knew that name, and I don't know.
It's a good movie. You should actually give it a show.
Yeah, I'm also. I didn't mention this, but a couple episodes ago, I was challenged to watch Mighty Python, and somebody would up their Patreon for a month. I still haven't watched it. Alex, the results?
MJF is still a champ.
Okay. Are they still brothers?
I guess so, yeah. Sorry, I would have to read up on it, but I will also say that the Acclaimed and Billy Gunn are the new six-man champions. They beat Malachi Black and the House of Black, so.
Yeah, they did a nice tribute to Bray Wyatt on the way out. I was
curious. I mean, I don't know if AEW would do anything official, since obviously WB held back when John Huber, aka Brody Lee, passed away because they wanted AEW to be able to do that on their own. But I'm sure some of the wrestlers would go out there and pay tribute to him, because I saw something on YouTube where Hit Row remembered Bray Wyatt, and I'm like, was Hit Row really there with Bray Wyatt all that much? But yeah. I guess. But yeah, you figure some of the wrestlers who had been in WWE before would do something for Bray Wyatt, if not officially done by AEW. I'm sure AEW did a tweet or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we can address the elephant in the room. Like, this week's been a little hard on celebrities. We lost Bray Wyatt. We lost Terry Funk. We lost Bob Barker. And
can I say something that's probably going to make me sound really bad?
Sure. I'm just trying to remember the last person's, the original voice of Harley Quinn. What was her name? Oh, God, what was her name?
While you look that up,
Arlene Sorkin. I think that's right. Go ahead.
Look it up and confirm. But I had thought Barker had already passed. I didn't know he was actually still alive. I distinctly remember in my head a story coming out years ago that he had passed. But I guess that's called the Mandela effect. Maybe.
So shortly before Betty White had passed, I made the comment about her making it to 100, and then she passed away like a week later.
Don't tell me you did that to Bob Barker.
No. It goes into this. Is that my sister texted me one day, and she goes, "What did you do?" And she sent me the article about Betty White. So when Bob Barker passed, I sent her a message, and I said, "Let it be known, I said nothing about Bob Barker in the past week or so."
Yeah, his birthday was in December 12th, I think. So he would have been 100 this year.
Yeah, and I feel bad because I found out about Bob Barker through our group text, and I woke up and I don't know why, but I made a really bad joke, but you guys all seem to like it.
I mean, some people might say too soon, but if you are willing to, you are more than welcome to share it here on the show.
I mean, in your opinion, was it that bad of a joke, or was it that tasteless?
I mean, I laughed at it, but
I said he lived closer to 100 without going over.
Because obviously that was the spinny wheel thing, closest to 100 without going over.
That's the obvious joke because everybody's making it.
Well, I made it before I saw everybody else making the joke. I woke up and I was like, it just popped in my head. I went, oop. But yeah, it's been rough.
Here's the thing. Everyone's always like, man, this year's been really rough for celebrity deaths. And I'm like, y'all, we're all getting older. In an interview with Inside the Ropes, I think Paul White, AEW talent and former Big Show in the WWE, said that that's what happened. That's one of the things about getting older is people around you start dying. And obviously Bray Wyatt, 36, that's way too young. But as we get older, the celebrities we watched on television are getting older, and it just happens. Like, I mean, the Iron Sheik passed away this year, another wrestler who died. So, I mean, all these wrestlers we watched growing up, including Terry Funk, are passing away because they're getting older. Bray Wyatt, obviously, like Brody Lee, John Huber, one of the outliers where they're just super, super young. And I said, it was hard for me to believe when I first saw the news because I first saw Joe Priestley posted on Facebook. But if it was anything else but wrestling, I probably would have had a hard time believing it. But since it's wrestling, and wrestling is just fueled by tragedy and wrestlers dying young, it was something that you didn't want to believe. But, the tweet was from Triple H. So it's like, well, he's definitely not going to put this out there as anything other than the full truth. So
yeah, I actually wouldn't have confirmed it when I saw it because I was I honestly didn't believe it. I was like, there's no possible way. But doing some research, I found out that apparently he had COVID earlier in the year, and it exacerbated his original heart issues. And then he was on the road to full recovery, and then he just had a heart attack. And
yeah, that was the official reason released by the family. And it makes you think of someone like Keith Lee, at least in recent years, who's had health issues, and you're like, oh, thank God, nothing's happened to Keith Lee. Because there's definitely, wrestlers, you have, the opportunity with an athletic profession, and one that's very difficult in your body to have, health issues pop up and you just can't get over that hump and you just succumb to them. So,
yeah, this Bray Wyatt death is, I don't know why, but it's hitting me really hard.
It's just like when Brody passed away. It's like, one, he's got kids. He's a part of a young family, and honestly, like when somebody like the Iron Sheik passes away or Bob Barker, it's like, it's sad, but they were also older. They were both above 80. With Bray Wyatt, it's like it seems so senseless and needless that someone who's 36 should die. And Bray Wyatt, look, I'm gonna be real. Like, I love the Wyatt family stuff. I think the Wyatt family is one of the best factions in WWE history. I like the idea behind the Firefly Funhouse, but a lot of his recent work, the WrestleMania matches against Randy Orton, the stuff with Alexa Bliss, being burned alive, I was at the point where, and even the blackout match at the Royal Rumble this year, which has actually turned out to be his last match in WWE, I was ready for Bray Wyatt to go away. I wanted him to go into movies. I didn't want him to be part of WWE anymore because it was just fucking ridiculous. But he does leave a legacy that of he's more creative than most people who have ever stepped in a wrestling ring, and his matches against Daniel Bryan. I mean, he had some good matches, and the Wyatt family had some good matches against the Shield. So, and Evolution also, I believe. So, I mean, he leaves behind a pretty stout legacy as far as wrestling goes. So even if I didn't like a lot of his more recent work, I can still respect overall that he had a massive impact on WB. And it needs to be said that WB has announced that they will be donating all the net proceeds from his merchandise sales to his family, to his wife and kids.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna say like what he was recently doing with Uncle Howdy and all that stuff was superb. But the Firehouse Funhouse,
the Firefly Funhouse.
There you go. That was a slow burn for me, and then once the Fiend started kicking in and all that stuff, so that's why I really got behind it. I don't think this whole storyline with Uncle Howdy really got off the ground, and I think that could have been spectacular because all the rumors of who was going to play who, that Alexa Bliss was coming back as Sister Abigail, you had Bo Dallas coming back as actually his Uncle Howdy and all that stuff. I think his sickness and the reason why he went out, that story never really got off the ground. But he had such a creative mind, and I was so behind the Fiend. I thought that was a great character, and then of course Vince gets his hands on him, and then the Fiend gets destroyed, the character gets destroyed, and
I think there's still kind of questions as to who did what. I mean,
that's just a rumor. I'm not trying to throw Vince under the bus. I mean. We
I'm
know.
not going to sit here and defend Vince McMahon at all, but
yeah.
We still don't know who took that character to what heights and whose ideas those were. You would think that Vince McMahon would be more in control of things, but yeah, I just think that when you introduce a character like that, the Fiend, how is anybody ever supposed to defeat that character? Goldberg did it. Stupid. It was real dumb.
Yeah, he squashed him. He squashed him. And
I would have told Goldberg, okay, you can just stay home then because you're not winning this match. But a supernatural character that's that powerful that doesn't feel pain, how do you ever beat that thing? It's just, in reality, it's just like Finn Balor and the Demon. When he started, I can't remember his last match, but his last match, when he was just seasoning on the floor like a fish, out of water, it's this is dumb. It's stupid. So I think WB has gone too far in regards to some of those characters, but the Fiend was too outlandish for me. But right. I understand the appreciation of his creativity.
Yeah. Matt, I know you're not really into big in the wrestling, and you've been sitting here listening to us for a while. Do you have any thoughts on any of the recent celebrities that have passed?
You earlier spoke and say, you might feel like a horrible person for making a joke or something like that. Listen, with the exception of some of the younger deaths, especially this younger wrestler who I know absolutely nothing about, tragedy occurs. And there are certain celebrities that live long lives. And I can't say I feel sad for any of them because they've lived long lives that brought us joy. So especially for those who, especially with the Harley Quinn voice actress, she brought life to something that didn't exist before and has will perpetuate itself long after she's gone. So just thankful that some of these people had some effect on our lives in some way.
Yeah. All right. Let's get into the show proper. Let's get into our updated trophy count, which I was updating because Yield's not here while you guys were talking. I am level 877, total trophies of 28,241 with 779. Platinums, Alex?
Level 489, total trophy count of 9,168, and a platinum count of 155 and 154 games. I got a brand new platinum this week.
All right, we'll get into that and what we're playing. Yield is level 501, total trophies of 9,794 with 176 platinums. Matt, any progress on the trophy front this week?
No progress on the trophy count because you'll hear what I've been playing otherwise.
I already know what you've been playing. And Sid is level 836, total trophies of 23,543 with 726 platinums. And good news, we have a Sophie's Trophy for this week. Sid sent me a message saying I actually remembered. So, Sid wanted me to tell you guys that it's not that like he's been lazy or anything like that. He just completely forgets to send them, and then he feels bad because he sends me a message saying, "Oh, I forgot again." So I'm gonna set up a weekly reminder to just send him hey, Send in a Sophie this week. But we have one this week, so that's good. As of right now, I don't have any audio for Gareth. That could, that's been coming lately after we record. So,
well, he hasn't even put out a written update this week.
Yeah. So, I think the every week thing is finally catching up to him. He's like realizes how much work it is.
Well, and especially since the audios have been near an hour.
Yeah.
That takes time. I don't know whether he writes scripts or not, but it definitely takes an hour.
Well, if you listen to him, it sounds like he's just going off the cuff and just reading off the stats and then putting his opinions out there, which is great.
Well, I mean, which is what he should do, because you shouldn't have to script a podcast because you can edit the audio.
10-4. All right, so let's get into what we're playing. Alex, we'll start with you, sir.
So earlier in the week, I actually completed 100% 2 games this week. The first one was a game called War of the Monsters, which was a PS2 classic, and I love it's on PlayStation Plus Premium under the Classics catalog. And I love how for the PS2 games they're keeping the PlayStation 2 intro screen in there, so it makes it feel like, oh man, this is I love the old schoolness of this. And it just takes you back. So War of the Monsters was a game developed by Incog Entertainment, which later became Incognito Entertainment. Little history here. Incog also developed Twisted Metal Black, and they did a lot of the other Twisted Metal games. David Jaffe was involved with this. David Jaffe and Scott Campbell were both involved in the studio. Obviously, the original creators of Twisted Metal, but they did a lot of Twisted Metal games, including Twisted Metal Small Brawl, Twisted Metal Head On. They also did Calling All Cars, and eventually they became Incognito, like I said, Incognito, and did Warhawk on the PS3. So lots of talent here. The successor studios were Eat Sleep Play, which eventually went on to do Twisted Metal 2012, and then Lightbox, which was led by Dylan Job, who did Starhawk for the PS. That was for the PS3 as well, I think. I don't think that was for the PS4. But yeah, Incog. If I've not been playing a lot of Twisted Metal, I've been playing other games made by the studio that did a lot of Twisted Metal. But War of the Monsters is a really cool game. If you've ever played King of the Monsters from Neo Geo, it's kind of like that, but in a 3D space. Highly destructible city environments where story is that there's an alien invasion and humanity fights back and they destroy the alien ships, but there's like radioactive material in the ships, so it leaks out into the seas and all over the land, and you create these 10 large monsters from that. And it's basically just like Rampage or King of the Monsters, where you square off against other monsters in a free-for-all fight. You get your standard Godzilla and King Kong clones and Kongor and Kongar and what's the name of the Godzilla one? Shit, I can't remember. But you've got like your standard like movie monster type enemies, but you've also got like a dragon enemy in there. You've got a giant energy monster with a eyeball in the middle. You've got like a giant tiki man. You've got a giant lava monster. You got a giant praying mantis. So there's a lot of cool enemies in there. And in general, the game has a drive-in movie feel to it, like a 1950s drive-in monster movie feel to it. Because the opening screen is like the option screen is a concession stand, and then you've got like movie posters to show off the beginning of each chapter with like artwork that depicts what monster you're going to fight, and the monsters themselves, the selection screen for them is on a giant drive-in movie screen. So very cool presentation, very cool feel to it. The only negative really is that the combat is kind of shallow. Like there's not a lot of combos and stuff. I mean, you're using a lot of the same stuff again and again as far as like light and heavy attacks, which the fights don't last that long, so it may not bother you a bunch. You can also like destroy boats in a harbor and pick the pieces of that and throw it at people. You can pick up cars and trucks and stuff and throw it at people. You can pick up like pieces of rubble and throw it. So it's a fun game. I like it a lot. Like I said, pretty destructible environments, and you can even in some of the levels trigger like natural events. Like you can trigger an earthquake in Baytown, which is like a San Francisco like city. You can also trigger a volcanic eruption in another place, and you can trigger a tsunami in another level. So there's a lot of cool stuff like that you would find almost like in Secrets you could find in Twisted Metal Black. So that kind of carried over a little bit, albeit in a different form to War of the Monsters. So if you got Premium, I would definitely encourage you to play that game. And if you played that game before, know that it has trophies. No platinum, but still go back and get some of the trophies for that game because it's still pretty fun even now. The other game I've been playing is Destroy All Humans, the revamped edition, I should say, or the remake that came out on PS4. And it was a lot of fun. I had never played any of those games, and I really enjoyed myself running around as a little alien, fighting the army, fighting police, just sucking the brains out of everyday humans. It's a lot of fun. And getting in the saucer, destroying stuff, just yeah, not much more I can say than it's just a lot of fun. Another, like, some of the trophies are really funny too. Like, there's one called As Is Tradition, and that trophy, all you got to do is lift a cow with a saucer and its tractor beam. And I thought that was a nice little clever thing. I think Black Forest Games and THQ Nordic had some fun remaking that game, and with some of the inclusions of the trophies. So yeah, I had a lot of fun with both War of the Monsters and Destroy All Humans.
All right, Matt.
So, Alex, before I get into what I've been playing, there's a game out. I'm not sure if you've heard of it or would be interested. It's called GigaBash, and it's a city brawler where it's up to 4 players battle it out Godzilla style across cityscapes. And with that, they actually just recently came up with some Godzilla DLC where you're able to play as the king of the monsters and add to the group. So something to be on the lookout for.
Where is this playable?
Everywhere.
Everywhere. So if I wanted to play it on the PlayStation 5, I can definitely do that.
Yep, absolutely.
You could probably play it on your toaster as well.
Womp womp.
No, this isn't Skyrim. We haven't gone that far.
I was gonna. I stunned you both for a second. You're like, wait, well, what?
Oh, and I do want to add that I went back and looked, and Togera is the name of the Godzilla-like enemy, or Godzilla-like creature in War of the Monsters. But Matt, what's that name again? And I'll look it up.
GigaBash.
GigaBash. I may have actually heard of it.
The cool thing about it is if you've been knocked out, you can still affect the match because you can call down like orbital lasers on the remaining fighters. So it's definitely a interesting little brawler.
Damn, it's got 9 out of 10 on Steam.
Yep. Yeah. And it's a definite, it's fun. I played it at PAX one year, and that's where I first heard of it. So going down, I Googled it, and going down to people also search for Dawn of the Monsters 2022, War of the Monsters 2003. So yeah, definitely in the same vein there. Ooh, $24.99, typically $30. Yeah. So anyway, food for thought. Just something that you might be interested in based off of just playing through Godzilla. And anybody else who likes Godzilla, it's a fun little game because they have some really nice original monsters, and then now that they have the Godzilla DLC pack, it gives those people something really fun to buy in on. Okay, I mean, I added it to cart, but once we get off here, I'll because I'm looking for. Obviously, I just finished last night Destroy All Humans, so I'm looking for something new to play. So maybe it is GigaBash.
Play some Saints Row.
Yeah, but then I had to buy Saints Row, and
ooh, I'm telling Jeff.
I think. Look, I think Jeff, based on his comments, would understand if somebody didn't want to make a game. I'm not trying to be shitty to the team, but I was all hyped for it, and then I saw,
it's not as bad as everybody makes it out to be.
But is it worth the money?
Yes, it's worth the money.
All right.
I'm playing. It's on my PlayStation, sitting to my left right now. Yes.
Okay. Well, since we know one thing you've been playing,
yes.
Why don't you tell us what else you've been playing?
Before we get into that, Matt, I'm a little disappointed in you, sir.
Then I've done my job today.
Yes. I posted something in the Trophy Wars group about a Dark Souls type game with Disney characters, and I figured you would make some kind of comment. You didn't. Did you watch the video?
I didn't watch the full video, no.
Oh. Okay. Well, when you do, I thought it was pretty cool. But the final boss would be Emperor Mickey.
Okay.
So the only thing I've been playing is Saints Row and The Division. That's it. It's always popped up, I think.
So how close are you to the Saints Row Platinum?
I honestly don't know. Right now I'm going back and getting all the collectibles, which is taking some time. And something popped in my head as far as collectibles go, because you both play Spider-Man, right? Or at least a version of Spider-Man?
I have played Miles Morales.
Okay, so playing Saints Row, you have to come across like you have to get within the area, and then the collectible pops up. Otherwise, you use like a guide and something like that. It tells you where all the collectibles are. But in Spider-Man, you know where all the collectibles are right off the top of your, right off the map. And I thought that was weird until I realized that Spider-Man probably, like, you know where all the collectibles are because you put them there. Like, when you go get the backpacks or you go get this, like, you put those collectibles there. And the collectibles in Spider-Man that didn't pop up were, all the historic locations like the Empire State Building, all that stuff. Like, you had to go take a picture of it or whatnot. I don't know, like, collectibles are, like, getting to me in this game because it's so frustrating to try to find everything. And then, I don't know. I'm going on a rant here.
I think they just need to do something where in every game, if it has collectibles or mass collectible collection, there needs to be, once you get to a certain point in the game or after you've beaten it and you get free roam, give us a device or an item that tells us where their collectibles are. We still have to go get them, but they show up on the map or something. Because expecting people to not, like, people go to the internet and look them up anyway. So just give us it in game. Like, after you've beaten the game, like, make people earn it. But give them something where it shows our collectibles, the locations. Don't make us sit here and expect us to try to find all these nooks and crannies that you set aside.
Yeah.
That's bullshit.
And more so, don't make collectibles missable mid-mission.
Yes, I'm with you on that.
It was a big thing for me and my buddy playing Gears of War back in the day. And, collecting the cog tags going throughout and being like, all right, oh, shit, we missed one. Now we have to go back and, like, play through on a second time. Now, we played through that game multiple times. But there was a point where it was just like, all right, we're just going to guide it this time because I am tired of missing these goddamn cog tags, and I'd rather just collect them and be done with them.
You know what I also like is the fact of, why, that thought just went right on my head.
Good job.
I forgot what the hell I was about to say.
Well, while you're thinking of that, I'll go into what I've been playing. So,
I'm sorry. Yeah, go ahead. Do that.
So playing, I did a little bit of WrestleQuest. I picked that up, loaded that up on the Steam Deck, and I ran into a very weird save bug. And I don't know what was going on, but since it's not verified for Steam Deck, I'm not going to hold it against the developer. But I got about 30 minutes into the game after the first tutorial, and I saved the game, and then I think I quit out of the game via the Steam Deck menu. And when I went back in later, the save game was completely gone. Now, again, not verified for Steam Deck, so not something that they would test or go into. I just found it weird. I got past the tutorial again, and I saved it and went back later, and the save was there. So I'm just moving on in the game. Just something I felt needed to mention. Number 2, I put in a lot more time at Remnant. My buddy Steve and I think we're on the final boss. The bosses in that game are astounding on multiple levels, and they're challenging, they're difficult, but oh so satisfying when you actually get through them. And we're just playing on like a normal difficulty. We're not doing anything super difficult. At first, the game offers you 3 difficulties, easy, medium, hard. And then I think after you beat it for the first time, they give you the ability to play Apocalypse mode, which some people were complaining is a little too difficult. And the developers came out and was like, well, get good scrubs. So just something for them to consider, that they made a very difficult game. And speaking of difficult games, finally, the only other thing I've been putting in time in this weekend was Armored Core 6. I've been playing that since released last Thursday, and that game has some really, really difficult bosses. And one of them is the very first boss you encounter on the first mission. It's a attack chopper, and a lot of people are rating it negatively on Steam because they can't get past the first boss. And a lot of us are saying, well, maybe pay attention to the mechanics of the game and you'll learn something. Because I'll tell you, it throttled me a good 10 times, I think it was, before I had the chance to get through it. And I learned the mechanics. I said, oh, that's right, I can do that. Or there's dodging, or there's aiming, or there's hitting it with this. So I will say, make sure you pay attention to the mechanics of the game. It's not a super difficult game. The bosses can be tough, and it depends on the game mechanics. It also can depend on your AC builds. Some AC builds will be better than others when fighting certain bosses. And this AC game does something a little differently that the other games didn't, is that you'll be able to restart from checkpoints, and you can also change up your build. If you die, you can assemble a different type of AC based off of what your inventory is. Maybe take a different strategy to take out the boss. And I've leveraged that. The only thing is when you use checkpoints, it doesn't allow you to get an S rank for the mission. But in the end, that's I'm sure will be an achievement somewhere, which I'm not trying to get. But I've been having a lot of fun with the game, and yes, I've been spending more time in the garage than on actual missions. And that's all I've been playing this week.
All right. Saber says FromSoft does what they, regardless of what gen. I don't think Thomas fully completed that sentence. And then he says Glitchomania, which I'm assuming was in reference. I thought that was a reference to your save glitching. But here I got a question for you, Matt. I noticed you said like it's not made for Steam Deck or not. I forget the term you used.
It's not Steam Deck verified.
Right. So our computer devs, are they not checking for that? Because the way you said that is like that's not something that they're required to check for or verify or anything like that. Is a PC developer just not like we're putting out a game and it may or may not work on the Steam Deck?
So what happens with the Steam Deck is it's running a Linux-based operating system, and then Steam puts their specialized overlay on top of that. And what happens is they run what's called Proton, which knows how to make a Windows-based executable operate on Linux.
Okay.
So that's the first level of what the Steam Deck does. And that's why many games that aren't verified are still playable on the Steam Deck. And there's 4 levels to what the Steam Deck is. Not playable, which means like you got a lot of VR games, for instance, would be the main category that doesn't work on.
Okay.
Not verified, meaning the developers didn't go through Steam's process to verify that their game would be operational on the deck. They're not required. They don't have to.
Okay.
To put a game on Steam as a platform, you don't have to go through Steam Deck verification. Playable, but there's some things that need to be taken into consideration. So they submitted their game to Steam to be verified on the Steam Deck. Valve came back and said, your game's playable, it'll work, but there are some issues, such as you need to use the on-screen keyboard. Text may be very small on the screen that we have, so it may not be easy for some people to read it, but it'll launch. And then verified, which means that no matter what'll happen, the game will play on the system. And believe it or not, that's actually fluid. Things can change. For instance, Jedi Fallen Order was initially verified on the Steam Deck, but then EA made some change to their Origin Thin client, which made the game stop launching. So they actually had to break it down and put it as not verified. So in the grand scheme of things, games that are not verified still have the potential to launch, but you can't be going to the developer or to Steam and say, hey, this game won't launch on the Steam Deck, because they'll say, well, the developer didn't go to us. And the developers say, yeah, that wasn't a priority. We're focusing on making sure it launches on PC and other consoles. So I run it with the risk knowing that it may break something.
Okay. All right. So before we get into our topics, V has put some questions into the chat. So this, now I gotta scroll back up to find it because I was an idiot and kept scrolling. Okay, so V wanted to know what was your favorite Price is Right game? Alex, we'll go to you first.
Thank God, because I can only think of one game, so I only have one answer. It's got to be Plinko.
Okay. Matt, and your favorite Price is Right game?
Plinko, because my brother and sisters and I literally made a Plinko board at home with nails and Tupperware lids.
Tupperware lids. That's pretty good. All right, so some comments from the Facebook group. Thomas says his favorite was the putter. That's because it was Bob's favorite. The man loved the pot. Also, the yodeler. I think the yodeler was actually called Cliffhanger, which is what Yield said. Joseph Priestley says Plinko or the Showcase Showdown. Dan Tucker says Plinko or Cliffhanger. Shannon says he never watched TV games. Callie says Plinko and the dice game. And Curtis says always loved Plinko and the yodeler climbing game. Cliffhanger, I think it's called. So, yeah, a lot of cliffhangers and Plinkos. I liked Plinko and all them stuff. I'm trying to think of the name of the game. It's I don't know what it's officially called, but it's the high-low game.
You have to guess whether the price is higher than low or lower than what's presented to you.
Right, and then you earn a key, and then and then if you get enough keys, it may or may unlock something. Trying to get, I don't remember the name of the game. It's been a long time since I watched Price is Right, but that was a staple when I was call out sick from, or not call out sick, but go sick from school and be able to watch that. Saber says that was tricky because it was always California prices. Yeah, I do remember watching an episode where a guy watched the show so much he knew the exact price of every item and was able to nail down everything, including the Showcase Showdown, down to the dollar. And then they claimed he was cheating, but it was well within the rules. All right, so let's get into our stories. We only have 2 topics before we have 2 topics of the week. The first one, Metal Gear Solid Master Collection includes a warning for content that, quote, may be considered outdated. This is coming from IGN and was written by Kat Bailey. Quote, this game contains expressions and themes which may be considered outdated. However, these elements have been included without alteration to preserve historical context in which the game was made and the creator's original vision. Player discretion is advised. Fans speculate on a number of things that may be cause of the message, including the scene from Metal Gear Solid 2 involving the President and Raiden, in which, in the scene, the President grabbed Raiden's crotch. And then another quote, we want to add that the concept for this collection really is to provide the most authentic Metal Gear Solid experience possible, with minor quality of life changes to smooth out a few edges from a different era of the game development. Konami's goal is to provide a new generation of players an accessible way to experience Metal Gear Solid while including all the Metal Gear Solid flavored set dressing and bonus content that core fans will appreciate, end quote. I don't know how much you got into Metal Gear, Matt. Alex, I know you dabbled a little bit. But I wanted to talk about this because I think it's important to understand that when a game comes out or a song comes out or a movie comes out, it was a sign of the times. And if it was acceptable then, you shouldn't go back in the future and change what was done. And I'm glad they're doing this, but this is the second time that I know of off the top of my head that we're getting these kind of warnings. The other ones are for the old school cartoons we had as kids from Warner Brothers. Alex, do you see this as a problem that, something that was okay back in the 80s or 90s or even the 2000s now needs to be updated to, and I hate to phrase it this way, but not offend people?
I think that it's a case-by-case basis because I understand them wanting to preserve the game as much as possible. But I definitely think, you look at some of Disney's back catalog and some of the very racially insensitive things in some of their cartoons and movies, and I'm sorry, that stuff has no place being watched. So I the Crows and Dumbo. I'm sorry, shit like that doesn't belong because that kind of stuff can feed people's terrible, terrible fucking conceptions about other people. And so I think that kind of stuff needs to be taken out of the narrative. I don't think there's anything to learn from that. So especially with Disney, if they've got particularly racist shit in their background, take it out. I don't think that needs to be accessible on Disney Plus just because it was okay then. So it's a very problematic conversation because it has to be again taken on, this game, this movie, this. So I haven't played Metal Gear Solid. So when I was reading the story, I was like, well, I don't really know what happened in these scenes, so I'm not really sure, what went on or how bad it is. So I was waiting for you to explain it. So, I mean, there's things. I mean, is taking something like that out really changing the game itself? I mean, you can always, I don't know how much it would change it or if it would destroy the game or really the authenticity of it if you took it out. I don't know how integral it was to the story, but I definitely think there are some things that need to be taken out of our media consumption these days. And just because things were okay at some point doesn't mean they should still be okay today or that we still need to, have them readily accessible. Some stuff just needs to be lost to history, to be honest with you. Is this that case? I don't know.
I don't think it is, because I think, like, if you talk about the scene with Raiden and the president, if you took out the fact that he grabbed his crotch, which it wasn't done in like a sexual manner. He did it to verify that Raiden was a man. And I can't really go into other details about that without spoiling that aspect of that part of the game.
Well, it's an old fucking game, Tricky. It came out in the 90s.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, there's a set of people that may play. I mean, I know you're not likely to do it.
I'm going back to play the Metal Gear Solid games. I tried them, and within less than an hour, I decided those games were not for me.
Some comment from the chat. Matt Murray says, "Get your webcams on, you chump. Love enough."
Sorry, Matt, I can't break my internet connection.
And Saber says, "Fuck people." So Matt, what are your thoughts on this? Like, future censorship?
I am not a fan of censorship in many ways, shapes, or forms, because I'm, in my personal beliefs, is that, like, you can make a joke about anything. I have the right to be offended by a joke. I don't have a right to tell that person that they can't tell the joke. And I think in the current culture where you have people trying to just erase people's existences just because of something they've done in the past. I think Jennifer Aniston had said something recently where she's like, I'm tired of cancel culture. Isn't there something, can't we forgive people, or can't people change, or things change? And that's people. What you have are games, mediums, artistic expressions. There's artists who've done things in the past to express their art form that people disagree with, and that includes actors. Look at Blazing Saddles. Still freaking funniest movie I've ever seen to this day, but you can't play it anywhere. You can't do any of that stuff because certain people can't separate the art and the satire from what is being verbally said in the movie. And you're right, Alex. There are certain things that people just need to... There are certain things that companies go, all right, that probably wasn't the best thing in the past, so maybe we should just not release it. And that's up to that company. They should make that decision themselves. They should not be forced to make anything. So for Konami to release this and say, listen, we're not changing anything, but there's some things that were done in there that might be triggering to some people or might be a problem based off of today's cultures. Listen, we made this game 10, 20, 30 years ago, whatever it was. And people need to understand that the world does not revolve around them, and certain things are not going to be changed just because they don't feel safe around it. And like I said, I'm not all for going censoring. Do your education. The same thing we tell parents before they buy their kids a game that's nice and colorful on the front, but on the back it's a big adult-only rating. Do your reading, do your education, find out what's in the game before you buy it. That way, maybe, if you don't want to be exposed to that stuff, don't expose yourself to that stuff. If you don't care, then by all means. I really enjoy the fact that they put a warning on there to say, yep, hey, there's things in this game that you may not like now. deal with it.
See, and I'm also very much over cancel culture. I mean, the situation that's popping in my head is how beloved and redeeming RDJ made of himself. Like, he went from an alcohol, drug-induced actor to redeeming himself, and is now in one of the most beloved franchises ever, playing Iron Man. And then after that all ended, there was a campaign to cancel him because he played a character in Tropic Thunder. And that,
well, let's say there was the blackface character where he was a white guy playing a black guy.
right, but his character in that movie was him studying to be a black man. I mean, the famous quote for that movie is, "I'm a dude playing a dude disguised as another dude." I get.
Well, there's also. I think there is a difference between somebody who goes to a party, a Halloween party dressed in blackface, versus somebody who's in a Hollywood production who is dressed as a black person, who's a white person dressed as a black person. That's okayed by a studio. Like, I don't know. I see a difference there in someone just doing it for the hell of it, and then other people who are in a profession that, like, very clearly movie studios have lawyers and legal, departments, and they still chose to go ahead with Tropic Thunder and everything in Tropic Thunder.
Well, okay. First of all, back then we didn't have the culture that we have now, where everybody wants to be canceled. I mean, and right or wrong, but you go after RDJ because of that, but you didn't go after the Wayne brothers for playing white chicks. Like, it's when it comes to cancel culture, I find it it's very selective who they go after and what they go after. I get the fact that
I hate to tell you this, but in the history of America, there is a certain power that one race has over another. Or traditionally, has the white race historically has treated the black race very terribly. So
I'm not.
There's kind of something there when you say that the Waynes playing whiteface or playing white chicks in the movie White Chicks versus someone doing blackface. Historically, the two races have not been on equal footing. So I don't know if that's a fair assessment.
I'm not arguing whether or not they should go after either one. I'm actually saying they should go after either one, but I find it like, okay, you put the warning on there, good. It may offend somebody. I have no problem with the warning itself. My problem, which is not happening here, is if they actually went in and took that stuff out because they don't want to offend somebody. Like, I'm also not a fan of censorship. I don't want. If somebody's creative vision is this, I can choose whether or not to consume that media, whether it's a movie, a song, whatnot. It's the same thing. Like, people turn around saying, because of what happened, they're not going to ever go back and watch The Cosby Show. Okay, that's your choice. But The Cosby Show is a beloved TV series. Or somebody turn around saying they're not going to go back and listen to R. Kelly's music or go back and listen to the Lost Prophets music. I get that. That's a choice. But to turn around and say we're going to cancel these people because of, something, you're like, even like Roseanne. When Roseanne made her statement, the cancel culture came after her. She was fired from the show. But my point when that happened was, you want to punish Roseanne, which I don't necessarily agree with, punishing her for that, but you're also punishing everybody else on that show. You put everybody else out of work because Roseanne made an insensitive comment.
Well, to be fair, they had the show The Connors
without
Roseanne.
Right. They made the choice to keep going. But what I'm saying is, cancer culture to me has just gotten extreme where it's very selective who they go after, whatnot. You want to censor something, I can kind of understand it, but I mean, The Last of Us Part 2 got so much criticism because of what Neil Druckmann did and his choices in that. And I'm like, I'm not going to sit here and say The Last of Us 2 was better than the first one or whatnot, but I don't damn it because of creative decisions Neil Druckmann made writing that story.
Well, Tricky, I do want to point out that when it comes to actors and musicians and people who are in that sort of profession, you're reliant on having fans. People pay for your work and pay to listen to your songs. pay to read, or pay to watch you in a movie, or if you're in the video game industry, pay to play your games. So your persona, like your success is very much based on whether people like you or not. And so people don't have to like you because of something. If they don't like something you said, they don't want to play something of yours or, watch something of yours, that's entirely fine. They don't have to. I understand where you're coming from, where you say that you don't have to destroy someone's life, but again, these people's lives and their paychecks are dependent upon their public image. And if you go out and wreck that by something you say, well, a lot of that's on your shoulders. Gina Carano, very popular example of this, but Gina Carano can say, for the most part, what she wants on Twitter. The problem is when there's consequences for that, and I don't understand how people don't see why Disney had every right to do what they did, which is fire her after she sheds her shit and rile people up. Disney is a company, and these shows are based on popularity. They have to have people watching them to succeed. And if Gina Carano is going to go out there and say something that pisses a lot of people off, Disney, one, should absolutely fire her. She still has a Twitter account. I assume she can still go say shit on Twitter, and if somebody wants to hire her, they can still do that. But Disney didn't have to employ her based on what she said. So,
where was that same energy? And I'm not saying you personally, but where was that same energy when Colin Kaepernick took the knee and everybody turned around and said he has every right to do that? They're blackballing him, blah 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 blah. But when people turned around and said it's the 49ers' decision whether or not to employ him, and they're like, no, the 49ers should never got rid of him just because he took a knee. Where was that same energy then? That's what I mean. It's very selective of where people come out with this cancel culture.
Can I jump in here?
Sure.
Yeah, I think we could all agree cancel culture sucks. You know what also sucks? Immortals Phoenix Rising sequel being canceled by Ubisoft.
Well, before we get on to that, one other note is the Master Collection for Metal Gear Solid is also coming to the PS4. That's all we need to say about that. Thank you, Matt, for getting us back on track here. Yes, the Immortals Phoenix Rising sequel coming from IGN would have been a mixer of Wind Waker and Elden Ring. This is written by Kat Bailey. Yes, it would have been an island vibe reminiscent of Wind Waker and borrowed from Elden Ring, dropping players into a hostile world. You would have had an environment theme where your actions shaped the world around you. It also would have moved away from the cartoony aspect of the game and gone more for a more realistic look. There was even a playable demo in the spring, but the studio decided to refocus efforts elsewhere, like the stale Assassin's Creed series. I just want to put the stale part. That's Matt G's notes, because he has a note later in the show too.
Tell me I'm wrong.
I'm a big Assassin's Creed fan. You're not going to get that out of me. But let's.
I'll certainly agree with that, and I think they did themselves no favors by going back to what they're doing now, going back to the beginning.
But one of the notes here is like it would have moved away from the cartoony aspect. I like the cartoony aspect of the characters. I like the graphic design of the world and whatnot. So going more realistic, I don't think I would have been a fan of that. But I mean, it sucks that this game got canceled. Maybe in the future we get it again, but right now this really sucks.
That's funny. You think Ubisoft is going to pick up a dead project?
Listen, I'm not thinking that, but I'm hoping that.
Okay, let me know. Let's talk again when Beyond Good and Evil 2 is out.
Yeah. All right. Your thoughts on this, Alex? Did you play Immortals?
No, I never have. But I think that because of how much people seem to enjoy the first one, changing the visual style to make it more realistic would have been a massive mistake. And so maybe it's a blessing in disguise that they decided to cancel it. Or who knows, maybe it would have been fun regardless. But I think that when you have a game that's successful and you're thinking about making a sequel, why fuck with it that much? Do some different things. Obviously, present a new story, add new characters, and if you want to add new elements, that's great. But when you're going to shake it up that much, like it's almost seems like you're doing it from the start. It didn't need. It's not like the original Immortals Phoenix Rising was made 20 years ago, and they're updating it for today's visual style. No, it had a visual style recently, and you just had to leave it like that and just make a second game, and people would have been happy. But again, they are it seems doubling down on what they want to do with Assassin's Creed and other games that, I mean, I just don't understand. Like, I'm surprised that they canceled Immortals Phoenix Rising and are still going with Beyond Good and Evil 2 and Sea of Thieves. Like, honestly.
No, Sea of Thieves, Skull and Bones.
Or sorry, Sea of Thieves is the Rare game for Microsoft. Skull and Bones, yeah. I mean, I guess maybe they've got too much money pumped into Skull and Bones and maybe Beyond Good and Evil 2, but I just think that honestly, who knows, maybe they think that if they cancel Beyond Good and Evil 2, that people will come for them with pitchforks and torches. They'll try to basically come down, burn down Ubisoft. But yeah, I think this game, changing the visual style would have been a mistake. So, I mean, who knows? Maybe in the end, this was all for the best.
Matt, your thoughts?
The real crime here is that it got canceled so that people can work on Assassin's Creed. I think the problem here is that they tried changing too much from the first game in an effort to make something more, I should say, different from the first game, because I don't know what they were going to try to do as far as story-wise to continue it on. Kind of ended on a pretty proper note. So I think the fact that they were changing things up to the formula played a part, that Ubisoft didn't want to invest any more time or effort into it. They'd rather just go on and make the teams work on Assassin's Creed. And I think for that, you lost the potential for a great game. I've said it multiple times that I didn't pick this game up on full price, that I waited for a sale. And I had a blast playing it. So, unfortunately, here we are. We're not going to get a sequel. And they choose to keep pushing Assassin's Creed and Beyond Good and Evil 2 and Far Cry, all games that have gotten so freaking stale at this point.
I don't know if you can say Beyond Good and Evil 2 is stale, because it's only been one game.
That thing has been in the oven so long, it's become stale and fresh and had to be baked fresh again.
Fair point. Yeah, like, I really like the Immortals Phoenix Rising. I'm a little upset I never went back and got the platinum. Maybe I'll do that. But I don't know. It's just, they are pumping a lot into Assassin's Creed. I mean, they did that big Ubi conference where they said, they're building the Assassin's Creed hub and they're building all these games and everything's going to be connected. I'm still curious to find out how that's all going to work out. I guess we'll get more details as we get more games attached to it. Saber says almost 15 years in the making, Beyond Good and Evil 2. And then Matt says, which first game? Oh, first game of Immortals.
I can only assume.
So, well, you said you played the first game.
I did, yes. I just didn't know if Thomas was saying Immortals or first Assassin's Creed.
Yeah.
Or first Beyond Good and Evil.
Yeah. So, all right. So that's where we're gonna end that, because it just sucks and I don't want to keep going on it. But at this time, we'll throw it across the pond to Sid for this week's Sophie's Trophy.
Hello again, it's Sid and I'm back with yet another Sophie's Trophies. This one, guys, is another simple game. Remember I said I have 4 to do? The next one will be Peppa Pig. But this one falls quite nicely, guys, because we have a new addition to our home. A puppy called Ellie. She is a golden retriever and she's really, really cute. And this game I am talking about today is DC League of Super Pets, The Adventures of Ace. It is, guys, a on-the-rails shooter. It's not very complicated. There's not really a lock-on. You just fly through the levels and shoot things. Trophy-wise, it's quite simple, apart from one that can be a bit of a pain in the bum. So, we shall go through them, guys. There are 16 trophies in total. We have Platinum Pup, which is earn every other trophy. Then we have Guardian 1, Fill Chips Safety Meter. So what these are, guys, these are 3 Guardians that you unlock as you go through the levels, and they give you a power-up. And you can upgrade these power-ups. So the first one is obviously Chip, and then you'll have 2 more. Then we have Lantern's Light, Fully Upgrade Energy Twin. So this is a power-up, but it's not a Guardian power-up. This is a separate power-up. This is the Ace's power-up. So when you press a button, another Ace appears, and you have to upgrade this. Now you earn skill points. There are 6 skill trees, all varying things, mainly Guardian skills, and you just need to fill those. But we'll get to that in a minute. Then we have Guardian 2. Fill Merton's safety meter. So much the same as Chips, you do that, you fill it, and there you go. Canine Conduit. Fully upgrade Dodge Force. So this one, I believe, is the second character's special move, but I can't remember what the second character's called. I do apologise, it's been a while since I played it. Then we have Guardian 3. Fill PB's safety meter. Goddess of Olympus. Fully upgrade Amazon Resistance. Max Health. Fully upgrade your health meter. Max Stamina. Fully upgrade your stamina meter. So all these guys, all these are just play through the game and unlock your skill points and just go through and put the skill points in whatever you want. There's nothing too technical about it, guys. Then Super Duper Dog. Achieve a Doggo rating. Okay, now this has got nothing to do with park cars in woods. This is achieving a rank in the game. So just fly through a level and shoot everything you can and try not to get hit. Happy Home. Complete your first adoption. So, as you go through the game, guys, there are pods, and you can collect these pods and they will give you a pet. Now, when you have a pet, you have to go through this little mini game of sorts, giving it the right toy, giving it the right food based on clues, and once you fill a bar, it will be taken to the adoption centre, and then you have to try and home it with the right person. If you do that, it doesn't matter if you don't, you just get more points. You will work your way through a little bar that goes from A to S, and you will get 4 skill points for rehoming animals once you fill that bar. All you got to do with this one, guys, is do your first one. Slithery Situation. Defeat the Snake Bot. That is your first boss. Tangled Trouble. Defeat the Octobot. That is your second boss. Luthor Lockup. Defeat Lex Luthor. Safe and Sound. Finish a level with at least 85% health. So again, fly through it, don't get hit. And Lexbot Lover. Finish a level without destroying a Lexbot. This one's a toughie. So the best way to do this one, guys, as you play through the game and you beat bosses and everything, you open up side missions. There's a bar at the top of the screen that fills up, and as it fills up, it means Lex Luthor is taking over that part of the city again. So just play through the game. You may have to play through a few levels, and in the second set of missions above level 8, eventually you will open up a side mission above that one. That's the easiest one to do this. So once you do that, just make a save on your PS Plus account, play through the game or through the level, and as you come towards the end of the level, use Ace and use his slowdown ability, so you will dodge the last few robots. There aren't many robots in this level, but if you just use that and dodge the last few robots, you should make it through quite quickly. But that is it. DC League of Super Pets, the adventures of... It's Crypto and Ace, guys. There we go. I'm an idiot. So everywhere I've just said use Ace's powers, I was talking about Crypto. What a knob. But that's just me. I'm good like that. So anyway, after that completely botched trophy list, hope you all managed to do it, but it is a good little game. 15 levels, quite quick to do. I will talk to you next week where I may actually think about remembering the names, but you never know. See you soon, guys. Bye.
Yeah, thank you, Sid, for that. I want to just add the point onto what he was saying about the going through the mission without the killing any Lexbots. The mission he is talking about is literally the only mission you could do this with, because other times they force you to kill an enemy or something like that. It's also worth noting that you have to dodge everything. I know Sid kind of touched on that. You have to dodge everything because if you come into contact with a Lexbot, it will consider it a kill and give you points. You basically have to finish the entire level with 0 points, and you have to do that one. That's the only one available, so it's important to do a save to get around that. But yeah, thank you, Sid. At this time, we'll go into our listener questions.
Time to check my social media, yeah.
All right. And thank you to V again for posting in the Facebook group. If you want to leave us questions, that's the place to do it. First question comes from T-Diddy. Where is the perfect place to vacation? Alex, we'll go to you.
I guess it's different for everybody, but my personal answer, a lot of people would say the beach. Beach is fine. I just kind of, anytime I've been to the beach, after the first few days, I get fucking bored. So, I'd probably have to say, some place like, well, I would pick the place that I want to go the most and never been before, and I would say Peru. So,
all right, Matt.
It's gonna have to be a cruise ship. You can go multiple places. There's a ton of food. I can do nothing if I want to.
What if it sinks?
Well, then
Why would you do that? Wow,
It's a consideration.
my God.
Let me ask you this though.
But that's like saying why fly anywhere because the plane might go down.
That's another consideration.
How many cruise ships have really had a sinking problem?
Titanic.
There's been more than that, but
yeah. But the point is,
the Titanic sister ships also sank.
I hear more about plane crashes and issues there than I hear about cruise ships running into problems.
That means they're due. There's a cruise ship due.
You are so negative, Alex.
I'm just trying to look out for Matt's well-being. Well, Matt and V, because V will also probably be there with him.
My place, or perfect place to vacation, is like a cabin in the woods where.
Oh no.
Deadites.
Oh God. Watch the movie first.
That is like heaven to me. Where go out there, there's no electricity, no nothing, no technology. Just sit out there.
You who has to have the most cutting edge tech at all times, the new thing when it comes out.
But I still need time to decompress, and the cabin in the woods is the best place to go.
Depends on which cabin.
Next question. Also come from T-Diddy. Who is the best game show host of all time? One of you guys step up. I didn't want to call it somebody.
I only know of Bob Barker and Pat Sajak.
Well, there's got to be.
What about Alex Trebek?
There's the Family Feud host. Like, I don't know. Well, we can't. I guess Kirk Fogg and all those guys from Nickelodeon wouldn't count. Although no, Mark Summers from Nickelodeon. Fuck it, I'll say Mark Summers from Nickelodeon. Family Double there because that's what I grew up on.
Who was the host of Whose Line Is It Anyway on the original, not the updated one?
Drew Carey?
Not the Drew Carey one?
Not the Drew Carey one.
I didn't know there was a host before Drew Carey.
Oh, well, hold on. I have a new answer, actually. I like Mark Summers, but the best host of a game show ever is Alex Trebek.
I was going to say, that's if you didn't know anybody. Wow. Was it a... I actually thought it was made by Drew Carey, so I'm looking up cast, and there's...
Yeah, it was a British host well before Drew Carey.
Oh, it's only showing me the American version of this.
All right, well, go on with go on with the next one. This is not worth our time to spend spinning on.
I'm trying to think of who the...
Nobody cares.
No, I'm going to say Alex Trebek. I was coming up with an answer for myself.
Let's move on.
Oh, my God. All right, next question from T-Diddy. Whoever thought a character made up on an anime show would touch so many hearts, rest in peace, Harley Quinn. Yes. That was a good question. T-Diddy, Madden is still trash. Why isn't there a class action lawsuit to break up this monopoly? Because they signed a contract? But I think the contract's ended, isn't it?
I'd have to pay attention to answer that question.
Alex?
I don't know.
Okay.
I mean, you could always make a football game, not just not based on the NFL.
Yeah, but everybody wants to play as the named players.
Honestly,
20...
no, fuck, not me. Here's the thing. I would rather play a fantasy football game with like fantasy characters, kind of like Blood Bowl, but less strategy and more just like real-time football. I'd rather play that than it'd be really cool if they did like a Monsters. I don't know if you guys remember the Monsters of the Gridiron cards that came with like Coca-Cola back in the day. You get like 2 cards in a pack of Coke. But they were NFL players dressed up as monsters, and each team had a representative that would dress up. A game like that, just Monsters of the Gridiron, where you just had monster teams going against each other. You could do that.
2026.
Yeah. That's my solution. Just make a fantasy football game. Make it more fun.
Well, it's funny.
Over the top arcade style fantasy game.
All right, I'm going to skip the next question because I don't know enough about this, and I don't want to go break us down the hole that may or may not be good. So Thomas is skipping that question. His next question is: with drafting for with fantasy football coming up soon, who is your first overall pick?
Phil Simms.
I'm in a fantasy league this year. First time in probably.
You doing it with Homer?
Good 5-6 years, and I do not know who the fuck I'm going. I'm not. I just joined because me and some friends at work or some of my coworkers are doing it. Thought it'd be fun, but I have no idea who the fuck I'm going to pick.
Ooh, you're not doing Homer's fantasy league?
I wasn't invited.
Neither was I.
But also, I haven't played fantasy football in a while, so there could be a reason. That could be the reason why they did not invite me, because it's like, well, he's not playing anymore. So.
And then the last question here from T-Diddy. What's your favorite poker game or card game? Mine is Texas Hold'em.
Blackjack.
Yu-Gi-Oh was my jam back in the day. Counts. It's a card game.
Yeah, I did mess people up in Magic the Gathering when I was younger. All right, Mark Frazier wants to know, does anyone still have goals to meet this year? It doesn't have to be gaming related.
Honestly,
mine's to lose more weight.
That's always a good goal for anybody. Get healthier. That's something we should all, no matter what you have to do to get healthier. I shouldn't say that, but whatever your goals are to get healthier, that's always a good thing to follow and continue on.
And possibly quit smoking.
Possibly quit smoking. Well, we can certainly hope for that.
As I'm lighting a cigarette right now.
Yeah, well, clearly that's a problem for tomorrow, not today. No, I guess really I want to short-term goals. I mean, there's always like stuff to do around the house, but we want to redo the upstairs sitting room we have where I have a desk that's been a hand-me-down that my grandparents owned. I want to get a new desk, and that way Ashley and I can have some stuff up here and game together. So we've been looking to redo the bedroom and the sitting room. But I mean, really, in the upcoming short-term future, the Halloween's coming up. We got October coming up, so I guess we want to do a lot of haunted houses, a lot of very fall citric, spooky experiences. So really just kind of get out there and doing a lot of stuff is one of our short-term goals. Just kind of do Halloween to the fullest this year.
Matt?
I started the year with the goal of beating every mainline Zelda game that I haven't beaten yet. I've only made 2 games completed in that time, so I don't know if I'll do it the rest of the year, but at least will make an effort on it.
All right. Daryl wants to know, what is your favorite Bray Wyatt match or memory? Matt, we're going to have to skip you because you don't even know who Bray Wyatt is. Alex, your favorite Bray Wyatt match or memory?
There was a moment I can't remember exactly when I think it might have been Raw, but there was a moment when the Wyatt family, it looked like they gave us a little hint the Wyatt family was going to turn face. And I think Triple H was involved somehow. I can't remember enough about the situation to, the Wyatts were standing on the outside and she's like, well, wait a minute, are they turning? I can't remember enough, but there was a nod that they potentially might turn face. But I think that I would have to say, what was it? His best match probably what I would have to say is the one with him and Daniel Bryan at the 2014 Rumble. When Daniel Bryan looked like he was going to join the Wyatt family but didn't. Ended up facing Bray Wyatt.
My favorite Bray Wyatt match was the one with Seth Rollins. I think it was in Saudi Arabia. Which I'm saying that because that was the redeeming match after their horrible Hell in a Cell match, which ended with no winner. But my favorite memory is, and it's sad now, but it's him coming back with the whole reveal after, I think it was at Night of Champions last year. Him coming out in the Uncle Howdy mask and taking it off and everybody cheering. That crowd explosion was unreal. Like, they finally got Bray Wyatt back after he was released stupidly. And, they did the characters in the stands. And then you had Bray Wyatt come out with the lantern and take off the mask. And, that's my favorite memory. Just the crowd pop was unreal. All right, and the last question coming from V. She wants to know, what is the best side dish for breakfast, lunch, and dinner? So I guess 3 answers. Matt, we'll go to you first.
Bacon.
That was my answer. Is that for breakfast, lunch, or dinner?
Why not all 3?
Fair enough. Alex?
For breakfast, I'll say cheese grits. For lunch, I'll say French fries or tater tots. And for dinner, I'll say something nice and light, a veggie. I'll say broccoli.
Breakfast is definitely bacon. Lunch and dinner, same answer, French fries. I love a good burger with French fries. So, all right, let's bring it back to our topics here. Our first topic of the week is coming from IGN and written by Taylor Lyles. The PlayStation Portable, the new PlayStation 5 streaming handheld's name and price has been revealed. Previously named the Project Q, will retail for $200 and allows users to connect their PS5 for a 1080p 60 frames per second gaming session over Wi-Fi on an 8-inch screen. As we already know, it has the DualSense controllers, but the thumbsticks are a tad smaller than the standalone controllers, more akin to the size of the VR2 sticks. I actually like the size of the VR2 sticks. It might be possible to use this to connect to your PS5 on a different network than the one you're already on. But that was Matt's note, but it has been confirmed you can play it on a different network. And you will not be able to play or stream games from the cloud as currently planned. And I am not reading Matt's last line. Matt, you want to say it? You want to say it, Matt?
Listen, no. So the funny note I added in was why anyone would want this is beyond me. I know it's a market out there. Daryl from the Loop Bros has been ecstatic with this announcement. I actually don't mind the device. I think $200 is too much of an asking price for what it does.
Wow, I thought that was the perfect price for it.
Now, if you were able to stream cloud games to it, I would agree with you. But the fact that it has to be tethered to your PS5 for all intents and purposes, it's too much money. It's half the price of a digital PS5 just to be able to play games remotely. Now, you better have a pretty decent Wi-Fi connection because otherwise it's going to lag out. So, and especially if you're playing on a separate network from the one your PS5's on.
Okay, so if you were in the Facebook group, you know that we put out me and Daryl put out a Patreon episode talking about this. You can go listen to that to get his thoughts on it. Because I to be honest, I kind of felt like this was going to get a negative feeling on this show between Matt, Alex, and Yield. Yield, who could care less about this at all, is actually, probably tired of even hearing about it. But I think $200 is the perfect price point for this because if you look at a DualSense is $70. You're basically paying $100 for an 8-inch screen, which is pretty standard. And then you're paying $30 for a Wi-Fi adapter. So I think this is actually a good price point for this. A lot of people will speculate that it was going to be $300. I thought that would be too much. A lot of people were hoping for $250. When they came out and said $200, I thought that was the perfect price point for this. Yes, it is limited. Yes, it's disappointing that you can't stream cloud games. But as me and Daryl speculated on the show, that could be a feature they add later. But that would require to have some kind of hard drive or memory inside of it, which I don't know is fully compatible.
Sorry to jump in, but why would it require a hard drive if you're just streaming from the cloud?
Because from everything that I've heard and read, what this is basically doing is running an Android version of the app of Remote Play. So
okay.
if you're going to add in, for lack of better terms, another app to be able to do the streaming, like the PlayStation Plus app or something like that, it would require more space, and that would require bigger memory and a bigger hard drive to be able to download that and put it on there.
Why? Okay, so there's two things at play here. Number one, the OS that is running the software, and number two, the app. There's no reason that Sony, being the developer of this, wouldn't be able to develop the app to do one and the same, stream from both your PS5 as well as cloud. The biggest thing you would need is a little space for patching. It wouldn't require that much of an overhaul to hardware and storage. If they can run the streaming app to the PS5 on it, they can run the Remote Play, they can run the streaming app, reverse that. It wouldn't require that heavy of a lift.
Well, I'm not saying it's that heavy of a lift. I'm just saying I'm assuming that they only put enough storage on this to have the app and, as you said, to update, because you require
talking megabytes.
All right.
We are literally talking megabytes, which if they can't afford to throw a 1 gigabyte drive on the thing to run I don't know how much the OS takes up, but you can imagine that if it's akin to a phone, it's going to be an 8 gigabyte system, which means they have more than enough space to run an extra app.
All right. Alex, your thoughts on this?
I think this thing is very pointless. The only reason you would want to buy this is if you want to sit at home and someone else in the house, be it your partner or one of your kids, wants to use a television. You've got one television. They want to use a television, and you still want to play PlayStation. That's the only reason that you would buy this thing. And I'm sorry, if you have $200 to spend on this thing, you have enough money to go buy another TV. Like, there are TVs that are cheap enough to where, and with apps built in, where you can afford another TV if you can afford this. So I don't really see the point of this thing. Cloud streaming would have been something with the technology Sony has that would have been beneficial, but the fact that you can only play games installed on your PlayStation 5 on this thing, I'm sorry, it just it dwindles the audience to actually who would use this thing. Now, like, Daryl has come out and said on Loop Bros, he's really excited for this. And if somebody wants to go buy this thing, that's fine. They, can spend their money in any way. I see it as a massive just waste of money because, again, most people that can afford this thing that'll go out and buy it have multiple TVs in their house. And if so in our house, like, if Ashley is wants to watch TV, generally she and I are watching something together, and I'm not gonna be playing PlayStation 5 anyway. And if I'm playing PlayStation, she is either for her to play PlayStation and me to play PlayStation, we would need we would need two consoles. We couldn't just get by with this one console and this handheld device. So there's no need for this in our house. And the only time I'm playing games if she's doing something else is when she's reading. So I think that for them to develop this device and spend the time developing it, there's not going to be the return on investment because there's not enough people out there that will want to buy this thing. There will be some, but I question how big that target audience is. So,
yeah, as I said on the Patreon episode, I don't know that I'll be buying one of these. I probably will. I mean, let's be real, but right now,
I mean this as a joke, but also not. Like, it's kind of a joke, but kind of not. If your PlayStation and Tricky's not buying your newest thing, you fucked up. Honestly, Tricky. I mean, VR. Vita. I mean, typically Tricky has multiple PS5s. If it's new in his PlayStation, Tricky owns it.
Yeah, but like you were saying, like this is targeted towards people that have multiple TVs, and
I mean that don't have multiple TVs.
Yes, I'm sorry, don't have multiple TVs, which I do. I also have multiple PS5s. I also live alone, so there's never a time that, like, other than when Sweet Mama D's here, that I don't have, like, access to my TV, that I don't see a need for this. I mean, without being gross, like, the only time I really see a need for this is, like, if I was to want to keep playing while I was on the toilet. But I already have that covered, so I don't need that.
And again, how many people are sitting on the toilet where they can't take a break from gaming? They can't just hit pause, to go to the bathroom.
Well,
and
but you're also not counting into the fact that I have stomach issues where sometimes I'm in the bathroom for over an hour.
Okay, well, yes, then
you need to see a gastroenterologist.
I have.
But also think about, I've made this point before, but think about PlayStation games. Big, beautiful worlds. And, to me, the PlayStation 5, you just want to play on a big screen. Maybe there are some games that you don't mind playing, on a handheld, but it's for the most part, if it's a PlayStation 5, I want to play it on a TV. I don't like Switch is more, those games are more akin to something you'd want to play on a smaller screen. Some games on the Switch you don't want to play on a smaller screen. I think that some Switch games you can't play on the smaller screen, but a lot you can. PlayStation is very opposite of that, to where almost everything you're going to want to see in HD and you're going to want to play it on a big TV.
All right. Yeah, that's all we can do. So, excuse me. That's all we can really talk about this. There also was a headset and a earbuds announced. We're not going to go into that, but at a future time, we're going to have to get into that conversation because they're using a new technology called PlayStation Link, which is because the current headsets that we use for our PlayStations will not work over Bluetooth because this will not have Bluetooth attached to it. They're going to use the PlayStation Link, which is the technology being built into the portal. And all future PlayStation headsets are going to use this technology, and they are licensing that technology out to third-party developers to be able to make headsets for this as well. So, all right. Next thing we have, before we actually get involved in this, I did put out a post in the Facebook group asking people what particular games they want us to talk about, because I kind of feel like when we go over these conferences, we have a lot of bloat in the fact that we just go over every single game that was announced, and sometimes it's like, nope, don't care about this, we're moving on. So when we have conferences like this, I'd like it for our community to get involved and let us know what games you want us to talk about, so we can give you a little bit more in depth in our opinions on it. But unfortunately, we didn't get any answers this time, so we're gonna go with our normal format that Matt had laid out. I can't speak right now. So Gamescom Opening Night Live 2023 was done. This is coming from IGN and written by Adam Bankhurst. The first thing we have is a Starfield live action trailer and a deep dive. Did either one of you guys check that out?
I checked out a little bit. The problem is it's a live action trailer, so it really doesn't do much for us.
I didn't, because one, I'm not going to be able to play it, and two, this is the PlayStation podcast, so we're not really going to cover Starfield. So,
well, I only bring up Starfield because everybody's really hyped on the game, so I figured, like, everybody's like, oh, PlayStation's not getting this.
Well, I mean, I'm not saying people shouldn't be hyped for it. I just have no access to the game, and again, it's not something we're really going to talk. I mean, Matt may talk about it because he's going to have access to it because he has a PC. I mean, I guess Tricky, you could play it because you have a PC.
I could.
But we're just not really, as far as I know, going to cover it. So it's just, hey, if it's great for the people who are looking forward to it. But, this is not an Xbox podcast, so.
All right, the next thing we have is Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3. Got a gameplay trailer. I'm not a big Call of Duty guy. You guys know that.
I don't think any of us are big Call of Duty guys.
Out of all of the Call of Duties, at that time, the most I played was Call of Duty 3, and that's because it had that co-op mode that I was able to play with my friend Keith, and we had some fun in that. And yeah, it looks good in the updated engine, but it's Call of Duty.
All right.
Activision being Activision.
All right, I got to step away, so Alex, I'm going to throw the show to you. I'll give you some time to get into the agenda real quick. But the next thing showed was an Alan Wake 2 trailer. We actually got some gameplay featuring Alan Wake, and they showed a lot of live action and in-game cinematics blending together. Did either one of you guys check those out?
Well, you're asking the wrong person. Well, you're not asking the wrong person when you talk to me, but you're most definitely asking the wrong person when you... Well, no, Matt, you played the original, didn't you?
Yeah.
It was just years later.
Exactly, yeah. And I checked out a little bit of the trailer, and it's interesting. It's very Alan Wakey, and it's dark and brooding, and it's the interesting thing here is the rumor is going around that they're going to introduce some live action stuff into the game, kind of like what they did with Quantum Break back in the day. Not this developer, but what a developer did with Quantum Break back in the day. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with the game and how it's received, because I think Alan Wake was one of those games that had long legs and a very pronounced tail. It wasn't massive back in the day, but it grew on people over time.
Yeah, and from what I've seen so far, I mean, this game's coming out in the very short-term future, and watching this trailer and seeing previous trailers, like they're not showing watching this trailer and seeing previous trailers. They're not showing watching this trailer and seeing previous trailers. They're not showing watching this trailer and what the fuck is that?
That was a very strange error. I'm not sure if that came through on Twitch. We apologize to everybody, but
yeah. Sorry, you had to listen to me twice.
Oh, please. I'll take that any day.
No, we really haven't seen a lot of Alan Wake. I mean, the first, gameplay we got was, maybe a couple minutes. And this one, they blend reality with the game. They blend the live action with the game itself. So again, we don't get a whole lot of a glimpse. And, maybe they're just kind of relying on that mystery to build suspense for the game. To be honest, I don't really need much more of a look than what we've already seen to know that I'm going to buy the game. But I also don't necessarily like the mixing of the real world elements with the game elements. It's just kind of jarring to me to go back and forth between the two, because it takes my eyes time to adjust, and I've got to figure out, okay, is this live action? Is this in-game engine? So I don't like the trailer melding those two. Does that make sense, Matt?
Yeah, I get it. It can be especially jarring when you turn around or watching something live action and then the in-engine comes by. I wouldn't say I find it difficult to determine which is which, but I would say it's unneeded. Like, if I want to watch a live action thing, I'm going to watch TV. If I'm watching a game, show me what you can do with your art. I think this is just a way of showing off the actor who plays Alan Wake to make it worth his while. I think that may have been a clause in the contract coming back saying, oh, nope, now I will come back as Alan, but you have to, I want a chance to actually play the guy.
I think that back in the day when games didn't look as good, then you had live action stuff. Like, that makes more sense. Now, though, when games look really damn good, you don't need to have live action in there. You can just have the game look like the game, and we're happy about it. So I don't know. For me, it's not that I couldn't tell the difference between the two, but there's a lot of fast cuts in the trailer. So you're having to switch back and forth between live action and the in-game stuff a lot. And it's just, for me, kind of jarring. It takes your mind a moment to adjust. And
Yep.
A lot of times, like I said, there's quick cuts. So you don't always necessarily have a lot of time to adjust. So, I'm still hyped for Alan Wake, but this trailer, I wasn't a big fan of this trailer, to be honest with you, because it was like just there wasn't a lot of cohesion to it. It was just like a lot of little bits. It's like throwing something at a mirror, and the mirror shatters, and you've got all those pieces flying everywhere. That's kind of what this video was. At least that's the best way that I would explain it.
I kind of feel like that's Alan Wake in general.
Oh, the first gameplay of the trailer, they definitely had a lot more cohesion, which is something that I definitely appreciated more. I'm assuming
Mortal
Tricky is not
Kombat?
back. Yeah,
No,
I was just
we
going
can
to
move
say
on.
Tricky's back. All right. Well, we're not going to ask Tricky about Alan Wake because he'll just shit all over it. Yes, we got a brand new Mortal Kombat trailer where it debuted 2 new fighters, Sindel and General Shao. Now, also, if you watch this trailer, Motaro was also in it, but he was also, it looked like a helper for Sindel. Matt, did you get that from this trailer? Did you see this trailer?
Yeah, and what's happening is this game is introducing cameos with a K. So think assist fighters where you're in the middle of a combo, you can sub them in to do like a quick hit or something. So they have Motaro, and I think there was one other fighter who they announced on that. But it's again a cool thing that maybe your favorite fighter isn't in the game as a selectable player, but maybe there'll be a cameo fighter that you can use and build your fight around.
Yeah, and hey, you had Sindel and Motaro working together in Mortal Kombat Annihilation, that classic Mortal Kombat movie. So why not bring it back for round 2 in Mortal Kombat 1? Or at least relight that old flame there. Did you ever see Mortal Kombat Annihilation?
The movie?
Yes, perhaps one of the worst efforts in
sadly,
cinematic history. One of the worst movies I've ever seen in my life.
How did Sonya go rolling around in the mud with her white tank top? In the next scene, it's perfectly bleached.
That's the magic of Hollywood, sir.
Magic, yeah.
To be honest, though, I would still be willing to sit down and watch that movie and maybe play a drinking game to it, or just sit there and laugh at how insipid everything was about that. But you can glean some joy from that movie, despite the fact that it is really, really terrible follow-up to the first Mortal Kombat movie, which was actually pretty good for a video game adaptation.
I would call the first Mortal Kombat movie one of the best video game adaptations.
Yeah, even better than Street Fighter.
Oh, dude, we don't talk about Street Fighter.
Well, not usually, but when you're here on Trophy Horrors and I'm on the show, and I've got control of the reins, we talk about Street Fighter. But no, I mean, Mortal Kombat 1 looks absolutely fantastic. Gorgeous visually. I mean, NetherRealm have really honed everything to where what they're doing is just incredible stuff. And, I guess that's a benefit of working on a franchise for so long. But yeah, the game looks proper brutal, visually stunning, and they're adding more and more people. You find out about a new character every week. Like I said, my boy Havoc is in there fully. He's a playable character. So, I mean, they've done just about everything they can do to pull me back in. And Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat, Matt, I know you and I grew up with those. We grew up with the arcade culture and going to play fighting games in arcades. So even if I haven't played a lot of Mortal Kombat in recent years, or I've been kind of turned off by the fighting game franchise, the fact that there is that history for me, that long felt love for Street Fighter and for Mortal Kombat, there's always a way for me to come back. There's always a door to come back into those series. So I haven't bought Street Fighter 6, but there is that itch, I will say, to play both that and Mortal Kombat. Probably more likely I'll buy Mortal Kombat, but just that long-standing history and me growing up with Mortal Kombat and that being big on the Genesis and the SNES and in arcades, there's always that calling there for me, Matt. I don't know what your experience was with these games in arcades.
So I played Mortal Kombat more than any of the other fighters, even more than Street Fighter 2. And it always has this classic formula that has worked for it. And Mortal Kombat 9, 10, and 11 really saw NetherRealm Studios kind of really hone their craft. And now that they get to kind of start fresh with a story, you never thought these games had these deep stories that you wanted to pay attention to. But I think they're doing a banger job trying to draw new blood into the fighting game realm, because this coupled with our next story, coupled with Street Fighter 6, this is a good year for fighting games.
Yeah, and Mortal Kombat's ability to, or NetherRealm, I should say, their ability to transition from more story-based scenes into fights, I mean, have definitely helped them be able to weave better tales and tell better stories within that franchise. The game you alluded to earlier was Tekken 8. Now, while Tekken 8 will not be released this year, it's close enough. I saw a Tekken trailer earlier, and I'm like, oh my god, is Tekken also coming out this year? Street Fighter, Tekken, and Mortal Kombat. I mean, you throw Soul Calibur in there, and my god, like those are probably like the 4 biggest fighting games. But yeah, Tekken will be released on January 28th, 2024. So if after playing so much Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat, you can jump into Tekken early next year. I stayed with Tekken probably longer than I did either Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat because I played up until Tekken 5, I believe. I think it was Tekken 5 because it was the game that Raven was first in. Which I believe is Tekken 5. Because I think Christy and Steve and Craig were introduced in 4, which I was a big fan of 4. But I haven't played 6 and 7, so, another fighting game that I have history with that, who knows, maybe when the time comes around, I'll go buy Tekken, because I did like Tekken quite a bit. Tekken 2 is available on PlayStation Plus Premium for the Classics catalog, and I played that game a ton growing up. And then you've also got, like I said, Tekken 3 I played a ton with, that probably being one of the most renowned PlayStation games, original PS1 games. And then certainly probably the most renowned fighting game, but also then my love for 4 and then also playing 5 and having fun with it. Tekken's a lot of fun. So yet another fighting game where I haven't played in a while that I might be called back in by the itch. But looking at the game, a lot of the fan favorites are in there. The game looks great. NetherRealm and Mortal Kombat, Bandai Namco has had a lot of time to hone, the fighting systems and evolve the fighting systems and the visuals of Tekken. So yeah, I'm sure it'll be another big hit. Oh, and Kuma's in there. Always love seeing Kuma.
And he has a fish.
An exploding fish missile. He's got a commando's head wrap on. You're going nuts here at Bandai or Namco. That's the second time I fucked that up. Namco Bandai.
Get it together.
Oh, and the chain link, the red hot chain link, is the 8 in the Tekken 8. But no, the game looks good, and it'll be out early next year. So I'm sure that Donnie and other Tekken fans will be hyped as hell for it.
I'll say this is, I don't know how they continue to do it, but they still manage to make Yoshimitsu look weirder and weirder each iteration.
It's like, all right, y'all, after we've assembled the cast, let's figure out how we can make Yoshimitsu. What they need to do is make, in the next installment, make him look more like Voldo from Soul Calibur.
Oh, dear.
I don't know that you can get much weirder than that, but they've, over there at the Soul Calibur team, have been trying to evolve that guy, or Voldo, and I guess I should say maybe they've been trying to evolve Voldo for how many years now? Yeah, Tricky, your thoughts on Tekken?
Tekken is the one fighting game series I really never put any time into. I've always been a Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat guy. I did play some Tekken, mostly when I wanted to go to the arcade and piss people off using Eddie Gordo. But that was it.
Well, yeah, everyone hated the people playing Eddie Gordo because he did the capoeira style, and it just the ultimate it
was a button masher.
Yeah, a button masher. It didn't take any skill to win as Eddie. You could just button mash. I mean, kind of like Kalik in Soul Calibur, although probably to the worst degree.
You just named my best friend's 2 main fighters for those games and insulted them both. I love it.
Yeah, so Tekken, I could care less about Tekken. I never really got into it. I'm more upset that we never got the Tekken Cross Street Fighter game. We got the Street Fighter Cross Tekken, but we never got the other one. So,
wait, was it Street Fighter Cross Tekken?
There was a Street Fighter Cross Tekken, which was done in the style of Street Fighter, and then there was supposed to be a Tekken Cross Street Fighter that was done in the style of Tekken, and we never got that one.
Never got that. Okay, I just couldn't remember if it was Street Fighter that was paired with it. My brain, there's a hole in my brain there for a moment.
Visa in the chat telling me to drop the smokes because she will hold my dog hostage. And she says, we will get you to stop. First, sorry I had to run off my stomach issues. And then second, apparently you guys got some of the Bluetooth audio. So,
yeah, thanks.
Sorry about that. I was trying to watch the show while I was handling, so when I came back, I wasn't I knew everybody was talking. And as soon as I brought up the thing, it's like, oh, wait, I can't hear anything. I was like, sorry. So we'll take that out of the Or Alex will take that out
What
of
do you
the...
mean we'll take it out? Alex will have to take
I
it
just said Alex will take it out of the...
Go on to the next topic.
Next topic, Assassin's Creed Mirage, which is going to be focusing on 9th century Baghdad. This is a... going back to the original style of the Assassin's Creed games, not the big open world RPGs. I'm excited for this. Pre-ordered. I can't wait for it.
You know, I'm about as excited for this game as I am excited for somebody to slap me in the face with a fucking trout. Like, god dang. Like, I really could not be less interested in an Assassin's Creed game if they tried. You brought me back with Egypt, and then now you're doing this. It's whatever.
Odyssey was good.
Yeah, but they like, it's like, they try to make everything bigger. Bigger map. Oh, Valhalla takes forever to fucking beat. I heard how much time it took Nitro to get to finish those games, and I'm like, fuck these games. No,
I never even finished Valhalla. I think I got like 30% into it, and then just got distracted.
If you fucking have to, just do an Assassin's Creed game in Athens. Don't make it some sprawling Greek adventure. Just do it in Athens. Athens is big enough to where you can do that.
Odyssey was in Athens.
But wasn't it also Athens and environs, or was it just focused on the city of Athens?
It's been a while since I played it. I can't really confirm that.
Well, because obviously, like, when they did Origins, it wasn't just Alexandria. It was Alexandria and the deserts and a whole bunch of other cities. So that's why I assumed, since Odyssey was bigger, that they tried to cover a lot more ground.
Speaking of covering more ground, Cyberpunk is expanding to the Phantom Liberty expansion, which is going to be delivered on September 26th. There was a bunch of changes made, well, not changes, but additions to the game. I trying to remember them all. It's car combat now. There's a new skill tree. There's a new level cap. 100 new weapons. So if you're into Cyberpunk, it was also announced that alongside the expansion, all these upgrades are also going to be delivered to the base game. So you don't have to get the expansion to get all of the options. Or you're still gonna get some of them for the base game if you don't buy the expansion. So I thought that was pretty cool. Moving on to our next game, Sonic Superstars, release date of October 17th. I'm not a Sonic guy. Matt, you a Sonic guy?
Yep.
You excited about this?
Yeah, I love Sonic Mania, and to have something more traditional Sonic adventure again, and plus multiplayer, I'll be interested to see how they implement that. But
it's a 4-player co-op, right?
What was that?
4-player co-op, right?
Yep. With Sonic, Tails, Amy, and Knuckles. So
who the hell is Amy?
The chaos that ensues on Super Mario Brothers when you're trying to play multiple player people on the same screen. So we'll see.
Who's Amy?
Amy from Sonic?
Yeah.
The pink one?
Matt's shaking his head at me right now. I'm sorry, I'm not up on my Sonic lore.
But I bet you remember the crocodile.
Jesus
no.
Christ.
I know Sonic, I know Tails, I know Knuckles, I know Dr. Robotnik.
How long does this no cursing thing last that you redeem Tricky? Because I have some choice words for you.
It doesn't apply to you.
Okay, good.
You didn't say Shadow.
Who's Shadow?
Okay.
Next topic before I have an aneurysm. Alex, well, actually, no, Alex, what do you think about Sonic Superstars?
I have not played Sonic since Sonic Chaos.
There you go.
So
He knows who Amy is, Tricky.
I at least know who Big the Cat and other characters are, Tricky. So don't lump me in the same category as you. But no, I've just never. Look, I like Sonic 2 on the Genesis. I like Sonic Chaos on the Game Gear. I love playing that game. I just have not. Sonic is not for me these days. I'll say that.
V says you are a little lower than the rest. I don't know what that means. I guess volume wise.
You can hear me fine, right?
Volume wise. Yeah,
I can hear you fine. But again, since we have our own individual tracks, it'll be. I mean, over the Twitch stream, yeah, that could be a problem. But as long as we have our own individual tracks, which we do, that's not going to be an issue with the release on Wednesday.
Yeah, I can't control Matt's volume on the side because I would have to control Alex and Matt at the same time. So if there's an issue, just let us know. She says volume-wise. I hear him just fine. I don't know. Well,
I think because I keep going back and forth.
Okay.
between where I am on my mic.
All right. The next game on the list is Sonic Frontiers. The Final Horizon update is coming this year. That is going to be a free update. Again, I'll go to you, Matt.
I got to get back on and play Sonic Frontiers. I stopped playing around the third island. It's fun. I enjoy it, and I'm glad that they keep updating it.
Alex, any thoughts on Sonic Frontier?
My man, I just told you I hadn't played Sonic since Sonic Chaos of the Game Gear. Why would you come to me and ask for my opinion?
I'm just asking if you had it. Never mind. All right, Quantic Dreams has announced Dustborn. It's set in an alternate version of America. Build new relationships traveling across the country. I don't have a problem with Dustborn, but I'm a little disappointed because I thought Quantic Dreams was working on a Star Wars game.
They are. Maybe they're just big enough that they can work on both at the same time.
Matt, your thoughts on Dustborn?
I stopped playing Quantic Dream games a while ago. I tried getting into Detroit Become Human, and it's not for me anymore. That's coming from somebody that loved playing Heavy Rain.
Yeah, I played Heavy Rain. I got that platinum. I got the platinum in Detroit. And I played Beyond Two Souls. And that game broke me. That was a bad game. Alex,
you shut your mouth.
That game broke me. It was such a bad story, bad gameplay. Yeah.
I personally, as someone who enjoyed Beyond Two Souls, I don't know how you can say it's a bad story and not look at the massive plot holes in Heavy Rain and say that was a good story.
I'm not saying Heavy Rain didn't have plot holes, but yeah, it was bad.
I personally liked Beyond and the story, but it's not for everyone. So,
all right, Little Nightmares 3 was announced. Co-op is a series first. Alex, I think I remember you talking about Little Nightmares. You liking those games?
Yeah, I played it when I had PlayStation Now. When PlayStation Now was still a thing, it was. I mean, it's a good game. Obviously, very nerve-wracking because you're being, there's no combat. You're just trying to escape and be stealthy. So that obviously can play on the nerves quite a bit. And co-op seems like it could be fun with another person. Now it could also cause a lot of arguments between two people because if you get caught because somebody else does something stupid or doesn't react fast enough, that can be frustrating. Stealth is an element in games that can be quite frustrating. But I definitely do think that you should be able to play alone, but also given the option to play co-op could result in a good time. So it would seem like a natural progression for the series.
Matt.
So I played the first one a little bit, enjoyed it. The style is really nice. I enjoy the storytelling. So I'll be interested to see what they do for 3. I didn't get to play 2. I want to add that to my list.
All right. It's also worth noting, I just realized I have a Detroit avatar on Skype. I just realized that.
Good job.
We're real proud of you, Tricky.
That sounded so enthusiastic, Matt.
Keep going there, sport. You're doing great.
Marvel Snap is now out on Steam. I know in the Loot Bros community, Marvel Snap was a big thing. Is it still a big thing? I never got into it.
It's not as talked about as heavily, but it still definitely is a thing. There's still people who play it every day. I play it every now and then.
Is it good?
Yeah, it's definitely fun. It's a really easy way to kill 5 minutes just to be like, all right, going to go in, play a match, done, no matter what happens, and then you move on.
All right. Alice, you ever get into Marvel Snap?
I don't even know what the F Marvel Snap is. I mean, I know it's a mobile game, but I don't know what the gameplay entails.
It's a card-based game. You have 3 locations. You have to win 2 out of 3 locations by playing cards, and as you can imagine, the cards have different effects and ways to manipulate the outcome of the match.
No, well, just give me a deck full of Hulks and I'll win everything.
Yeah, except there's power levels and mechanics that you have to pay attention to. The funny thing is, they do give you a Hulk as part of your starter deck.
Well, yeah, because they want people to be happy, and Hulk makes people happy.
Hulk smash. Speaking of smashing, let's smash our next one. Killing Floor 3 was announced with a new trailer. I'm not going to be playing that because of the spider aspect, but you guys have fun.
Tricky. You're missing a fantastic co-op based wave shooter.
I played Killing Floor 2 with everybody, and because I was trying to do a community night, and yeah, it just didn't turn out well.
Well, you're still here, showing that you're better than your fear.
Thanks for the motivation. It's not going to help. Alice, you going to play Killing Floor 3 at all?
I watched the trailer. I have it's a slick looking game, and they show very little of the gameplay, but the way they introduce it is, as a first announcement, I think it works really well, and it'll get fans of the series really excited. I just, correct me if I'm wrong, Matt, but it looks like it's got a survival horror element to it. It's like a survival shooter.
Yeah, so it's
at least this rendition of it definitely looks like that, or that's what they made it look like.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's a lot of body horror type enemies, and the actual fun thing I like about these devs is every year on Christmas, all of the monsters take on a Christmas theme. So like I lost all the names, but like the big bad would be dressed as Santa Claus, or you would have Christmas lights on all the Zeds, which is they're just their term for zombies. So it's a funny little way that they celebrate each year, but it's got a lot of depth. I think there was some controversy over the last one and some microtransactions and developer involvement in actually getting the game up and running when it had a lot of failures. So the end result is I still think we're going to get a high quality product here.
But I will answer when I say I have zero history of Killing Floor, so I haven't played any of the previous ones, so I'm not really necessarily hyped for this one, but that doesn't mean I won't necessarily play it.
All right. And the last game that we have to talk about here is Lord of the Fallen. Gave us an extended story trailer. I'm also not interested in Lord of the Fallen. Looks cool, but it doesn't look like my cup of tea. Matt, it does look like your cup of tea, though.
Yeah, absolutely. It's along the lines of Souls games where it has intricate combat, a 2-death mechanic system, but in this one is actually a little different in that you can actually force yourself into a death state, because kind of like what they did with Tears of the Kingdom, there's 2 separate worlds, the main world and then kind of like this weird afterlife world, and both of them will have secrets that you can get to by moving between them. So I think it's going to be an interesting take on it. And actually, I think the Lords of the Fallen, this one is just kind of like a retelling of an older Lords of the Fallen game. Correct me if I'm wrong. But I'll probably give it a shake, maybe when it goes on sale. But I have enough to play this year so far. I am interested. And again, I like combat-heavy games.
And Alex?
Yeah, I really have nothing to add about this game.
Okay. Neither do I. But I do want to go back and address something. When I was talking about the collectibles, I forgot what I was talking about. The area collectibles. When you're doing collectibles, I like that the games are putting that now. They're saying, okay, there's X number of collectibles in this area, so you don't have to search the entire map. It gives you like a generalized area to look for those collectibles. So I appreciate that. That's what I was forgot to mention before. And Matt, because it was boring a hole in my head, Clive Anderson was the host of the UK Whose Line Is It Anyway?
Noted. Thank you.
And if we're going back and, correcting shit, I just want to say for the last time that it's Bandai Namco. That's the name of the company, Bandai Namco.
Did you keep messing that up?
Oh, fucked it up horribly.
Oh. Yeah, so at this time...
It was like tricky trying to pronounce a Japanese name.
Oh, I thought you were going to say it's like tricky trying to do a segue. Because I just fucked up another one.
You're trying, Tricky. Bless your heart.
I'm trying. Yeah.
Sometimes you succeed, but it just takes practice. Sometimes it takes 500 episodes. Sometimes it takes 1,000 episodes. We'll get you there.
Yeah. All right, let's close out the show. Let's do some shout outs. Matt, your shout outs.
Thank you, Tricky, Alex. Good episode tonight. Shout out to my wife V. Thanks for being awesome in everything you do. Shout out to the Channel 3 community. Saw Ray and saw Jay Klein in the chat. Shout out to Thomas and Matt for stopping by in the chat. Hopefully I didn't miss anybody. And otherwise, thank you all. Have a good night.
Alex, your shout outs.
I want to give a shout out to the community, the fuel to the fire that is Trophy Horrors, our wonderful community. I mean, you all are the ones who push us forward. You're the reason we're still doing this. So thank you for your continued support. It means everything to us. I want to give a shout out to my co-host Tricky and Matt, as well as Yield. Yield is at a family function, so he could not be here tonight. But yeah, thank you guys for joining me. Give a shout out again to AW wrestler CM Punk and FTRs. It's good to know that Tony Khan wants to do what's best for business and put those gents over. Although I love Samoa Joe, so if they had Samoa Joe beat Punk and then gone to a best of 3, I would have been happy with that. But yeah, good job, Tony. And last but not least, I want to give a shout out to my awesome and loving girlfriend, Ashley. I love you, hun. And yeah, those are my shout outs.
And I want to give a shout out to everybody in the Twitch chat. I know we saw T-Diddy in here. We saw Darth Knight in here. We see V in here. Matt, as always, is in here, which I appreciate. Keep an eye on the Twitch chat with me. Shout out to Sweet Mama D. Shout out to all the listeners. And if there's nothing else, until next week.
Bob Barker reminding you, help control the pet population. Have your pet spayed or neutered. Goodbye, everybody.
Say goodbye, guys.
This is the way.
Save your last words, then read on me, Vance. Save your last words. Save your last words, then read on me, Vance. Save your last words, then read on me, Vance. Save your last.
The theme song is Venus by the band Even off their album Zenith. Permission granted by the band and 12 Stone Records. You can find them on Facebook by going to www.facebook.com/evenphilippines.